Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. David stepped off the transport shuttle, his eyes adjusting to the vibrant lights of Zephyr Station. The hub was a bustling mosaic of species and cultures, a place where traders from across the galaxy mingled with scholars and wanderers. As he made his way through the crowd, he bumped into another human, a rare sight in this part of the galaxy. "Sorry about that," David said, extending his hand. "Name's David, here for the mineral studies." The other man grinned, shaking his hand vigorously. "Tom, I'm here for pretty much the same reason." "Geologist?" "Yep, and you?" "Astrophysicist, but I dabble in geology from time to time." "What brings you to Zephyr Station specifically?" Tom asked, as they started walking towards the central plaza. David shared his excitement about a recent discovery of a rare mineral found only in this sector. It's supposed to have properties unlike anything we've seen before. Could revolutionize energy storage on Earth. Sounds fascinating. I'm here to study the gravitational effects these minerals have. Seems like our interests might overlap, Tom remarked. As they conversed, a figure caught David's attention, a being with smooth, iridescent skin and large, expressive eyes. She was clearly not human, her movements graceful and almost floating. David nudged Tom, nodding towards her. "Ever seen anything like her before?" David asked, his curiosity piqued. Tom shook his head. "Not up close. She's from Alcyone, I think. They're known for their advanced tech and... well, look at her, she's almost ethereal." Encouraged by Tom's interest, David approached her, his heart rate picking up. "Hi, sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help noticing. Well, you look fascinating. I'm David, and this is Tom." She tilted her head, a smile playing on her lips. "I'm Mira. And I know, we Alcyons do tend to stand out. What brings two humans so far from Earth?" "We're here to study the unique minerals of this sector," Tom chimed in. "And it looks like we're not the only ones intrigued by new discoveries." Mira laughed softly, the sound melodious. "Indeed. I'm a xenobiologist. Your planet's life forms are particularly interesting. Maybe we can exchange notes. I'm curious about Earth's biological diversity." David was quick to agree. "That would be great. Maybe over dinner? We can share what we know, learn from each other." "I'd like that," Mira said. "Meet me at the Nebula Bistro at 8? It's a nice place for interspecies conversations." "Sounds perfect. We'll see you there," David replied, a hint of excitement in his voice. As Mira walked away, Tom nudged David. "Smooth move. But remember, we're here to work." "Who says we can't do both?" David grinned, watching Mira disappear into the crowd. Learning from her could be the highlight of this trip. "Or the most complicated," Tom added, half joking. David shrugged, undeterred. Sometimes, the most complicated things are the most worthwhile. With a new plan for the evening, they headed off to gather their equipment, both unaware of just how intertwined their mission and personal lives were about to become on Zephyr Station. The Nebula Bistro was aglow with ambient lighting that mimicked the starry void outside its large viewing windows. David and Tom arrived early, scanning the eclectic crowd for Mira. The venue was a popular choice for interspecies interactions, its menu boasting delicacies from across the known galaxies. Mira arrived precisely on time, her presence causing a subtle stir among the patrons. She greeted David and Tom with a warm, open demeanor that set them immediately at ease. "Thank you for joining us, Mira," David started as they took their seats at a secluded table. "This place is incredible. It's one of my favorites. The chefs here are artists in their own right," Mira replied, her eyes sparkling under the soft lights. As they ordered their meals, choosing dishes that were as foreign to them as the languages on the menu, conversation flowed freely. Mira was particularly interested in Earth's aquatic ecosystems, which led Tom to discuss his lesser-known passion for marine biology. "Earth's oceans are as diverse as the galaxy," Tom explained. "From microscopic plankton to the great blue whales, it's a complex, interconnected world." "Fascinating," Mira murmured. "Alcyone lacks large bodies of water, our life forms evolved quite differently. I'd love to visit Earth and see this for myself." "You should," David chimed in. "And speaking of visits, we're hoping to take a closer look at some of the mineral formations on the outer belt tomorrow. Any chance you'd want to join us? It could be beneficial, a cross-discipline perspective." Mira considered this, her gaze thoughtful. "I think I would. It sounds like a valuable opportunity to blend our fields. What time are you heading out?" "Early morning. We'll grab some gear from the station's geology lab." "You are welcome to meet us there," David offered. "I'll be there. It'll be interesting to see these famed minerals firsthand, Mira agreed, her enthusiasm palpable. Dinner progressed with stories of their respective planets and scientific endeavors, each tale highlighting the vast differences and surprising similarities between their worlds. As the evening drew to a close, the trio felt a camaraderie that went beyond mere professional interest. Walking back to the station's main complex, David felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. "You know, I think this could be the beginning of something significant," he mused aloud. Tom nodded, his expression contemplative. "Agreed, but we need to tread carefully. Interspecies collaborations are still rare and can be fraught with complications." "Mira seems open and understanding," David replied, the image of her thoughtful smile lingering in his mind. "I think she's genuinely interested in collaboration." "Yes, but it's not just about us and Mira. It's about how others will perceive this partnership," Tom cautioned. "We're in uncharted territory here." David looked back towards the bistro, where the lights of the station cast long shadows. "Then let's chart it," he said, a determined edge to his voice. "Let's show them how much there is to gain from working together, not just for us, but for everyone on this station." With the stars as their silent witnesses, the two men made their way back to their quarters, the possibilities of the coming days unfolding like the galaxy itself, vast, mysterious, and inviting. The early morning light filtered through the station's dome as David and Tom arrived at the Geological Research Lab. They were met by Mira, who was already examining some equipment with keen interest. "Good morning," Mira greeted, turning to them with a bright smile. "I've been looking over your setup here. You have quite the advanced kit." Tom grinned, always proud to showcase their tools. "We try to keep up with the best. Here, let me show you some of the specialized scanners we use for mineral mapping." As Tom led Mira through a demonstration, David prepared the rest of their gear. The lab was alive with the hum of machinery and the subtle buzz of early morning activity as other researchers started their day. "Ready to head out?" David asked after everything was packed and checked. "Yes, let's go see what the outer belt has to offer," Mira responded with enthusiasm. The trio boarded a small shuttle, the vessel equipped for short-range trips within the station sector. As they traveled, the conversation turned to the day's objectives. "We're particularly interested in the spectrographic readings from the last survey." They hinted at unknown compounds, possibly due to the unique pressure conditions out there, David explained, pulling up some data on a screen. Mira leaned over to look. "That's intriguing. Alcyone scientists have theorized about such conditions, but we've never observed them directly. Your findings could provide valuable insights." Tom navigated the shuttle while listening in. "What's the scientific community like on Alcyone? Collaborative?" "Very much so," Mira replied. "Though our projects are often more theoretical. Direct fieldwork like this is something I've wanted to experience for a while." Their shuttle soon docked at a designated outpost on the outer belt. The area was rich with mineral formations, their colors vibrant against the stark backdrop of space. "This is incredible," Mira said as they suited up and exited the shuttle. "The variety is much greater than I expected." David led the way to a particularly promising site. "We discovered an interesting vein here last week. Haven't had the chance to dig in yet." As they worked, David and Tom showed Mira how to use the human-design tools for collecting samples. The work was meticulous, requiring careful extraction to preserve the integrity of the minerals. "You have a steady hand," David noted, watching Mira expertly wield a laser cutter. Mira laughed lightly. "You need one in xenobiology. Precision is crucial, as it is here, I suspect." "Definitely," Tom agreed. Each sample could tell a whole story about the geological history of this region. The hours passed quickly, filled with work and light-hearted banter. As they wrapped up, Mira looked genuinely content. "Today was enlightening. Thank you both for bringing me along." "Our pleasure," David said. "We learned a lot from you too. It's been invaluable having your perspective." As they made their way back to the shuttle, Tom suggested, "We should look over the data together, make a day of it. Could grab some dinner afterward, go over what we've found." "I'd like that," Mira responded, her tone warm. "It's been enlightening working with you both. I feel like I'm not just observing, I'm part of the team." "That was the idea," David said as they boarded the shuttle. "Science is best when shared, right?" "Absolutely," Mira agreed, her eyes reflecting the starlight as they journeyed back to the station. Their collaboration was shaping up to be more than just a sharing of knowledge. It was a forging of new bonds, a blend of cultures and disciplines that promised to enrich them all. The evening found David, Tom, and Mira at the observatory lounge, a tranquil spot with a panoramic view of the cosmos. They had just finished analyzing the day's findings, their data spread across a holographic display table. This alignment here, Tom pointed at the display, suggests that these minerals are not just a result of natural geological processes but perhaps influenced by some kind of cosmic event. Mira, intrigued, leaned closer. Like a supernova remnant impacting the belt? That could explain the unusual molecular structure. David nodded, impressed. Exactly. We need to run a few more spectral analyses to confirm, but it looks promising. As they discussed potential theories and their implications, the conversation gradually shifted towards more personal reflections. You know, Mira, David began, hesitating slightly, working with you has opened our eyes to a lot of new ideas. Not just scientifically. Mira smiled, sensing the shift. I've felt the same. It's rare to find such open collaboration, especially between species. My people can be quite reserved when it comes to sharing our knowledge outside. Tom, who had been listening quietly, added, it's a big station, and yet it can feel like we're all in our little bubbles. It's been refreshing breaking out of that. The conversation paused as they ordered another round of drinks. Mira took a thoughtful sip before speaking. There's something I haven't mentioned about Alcyone and humans. It's sort of a sensitive topic. David exchanged a glance with Tom, both picking up on the gravity in her tone. Go on, David encouraged gently. In the past, there were some incidents. Misunderstandings between our people and humans. Some of my kind view humans as too unpredictable, too primal, Mira admitted, her voice low. Tom raised an eyebrow. Primal? Because we're newer to the spacefaring community? Partly, Mira sighed. It's an old prejudice, but it's there. Collaborating with you, I've seen how unfounded that is. David felt a twinge of disappointment. Does that mean there could be backlash for you? For working with us? It's possible, Mira acknowledged. But I believe it's worth the risk. What we're doing here, the bridges we're building, it matters. The trio sat in a moment of shared understanding, the vastness of space beyond the lounge windows reminding them of the smallness of their individual concerns. We've got your back, Mira, Tom said firmly. We're in this together, come what may. Mira's expression softened. Thank you, both of you. I've never felt more certain of my path than I do now, working alongside you. David leaned forward, his resolve clear. Let's make sure we set an example then. Show them what can be achieved through unity and shared curiosity. Yes, let's, Mira agreed, her determination matching theirs. As the evening waned, they continued their discussion, planning future projects and presentations that would highlight their collaborative efforts. They were not just researching minerals anymore, they were laying the groundwork for a deeper understanding between their peoples. By the time they left the lounge, the stars seemed a little brighter, the universe a little less divided. David and Mira sat in front of the holoscreen in the station's communications center, preparing for the call that would bridge worlds and possibly challenge deep-seated prejudices. Tom stood nearby, his presence a silent support. The screen flickered to life, revealing the concerned faces of Mira's parents on Alcyone. Mom, Dad, Mira began, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest, I have something important to tell you. Her parents exchanged a glance, their expressions unreadable. We're listening, Mira, her mother said gently, leaning closer to the screen. Taking a deep breath, Mira continued, I'm pregnant. She paused, letting the words hang in the digital ether. The reaction was immediate. Her father's brows furrowed. Mira, that's unexpected. Who is the father? Please don't say it's me. David interjected, stepping into the frame beside Mira. I'm the father. There was a moment of heavy silence as her parents absorbed the news. Her mother was the first to break it. An Earthling? She asked, her tone a mixture of disbelief and concern. Yes, his name is David. He's a scientist, like me, Mira explained, squeezing David's hand for comfort. Her father's voice was strained. Mira, you know how people will view this. Humans are. Well, you know the stereotypes. David spoke up, respectful yet confident. I understand there's been tension between our species, but I love your daughter, and I'm committed to being a part of her life and our child's. I want to understand your concerns and address them. Tom, sensing the tension, added from off-screen, I've been working with both of them. David's intentions are honorable. He respects Mira and her culture. Mira's mother looked from David to Mira, her eyes softening slightly. This is a lot to process, Mira. We worry about you. This union will be challenging, culturally and socially. I know, Mom. But I believe it's worth it, Mira responded, her voice firm. David is a good man, and together, we've achieved a lot professionally and personally. We want our child to grow up knowing both worlds, all their heritage." Her father sighed, "It's unconventional, Mira. But seeing you both together, your determination. We'll need time to adjust." Mira nodded, "Of course, we don't expect immediate acceptance, but we hope you can see how much this means to us." Her mother finally smiled, albeit weakly, "We love you, Mira. We'll try for you. And you," she looked at David, "you take good care of our daughter and grandchild." "I will. Thank you for giving us a chance to explain," David said, relief evident in his tone. The call ended with promises to talk again soon, leaving Mira and David to reflect on the hurdles ahead but also the small victory of having opened a door that had long been closed. Tom clapped David on the back. "Well handled, both of you. It's a start." "Yes," Mira smiled, leaning into David, "a start of something new, something hopeful." As they left the communications center, the weight of the conversation lingered, but so did a sense of potential, of possibilities that could redefine the future for not just one family, but perhaps two civilizations. The shuttle descended through the vibrant skies of Alcyone, its colors shifting as they penetrated the atmosphere. David peered out of the window, marveling at the alien landscape that was about to become a significant part of his life. Tom nudged him, a grin on his face. "Ready to meet the in-laws in person?" "As I'll ever be," David replied, trying to steady his nerves. The shuttle landed smoothly in a field surrounded by towering structures that shimmered with metallic hues. Myra's parents were waiting for them, their expressions a mix of curiosity and restraint. "Welcome to Alcyone," Myra's father said, extending his hand to David in a gesture that was unmistakably welcoming despite the tension. "Thank you, sir," David responded, taking his hand and trying to convey his sincerity through the handshake. Mira led the group towards her family home, explaining various cultural landmarks along the way. Her mother asked Tom about Earth, clearly trying to bridge the gap between her concerns and her politeness. The home was a sprawling structure with flowing lines and open spaces, designed to harness natural light. They were greeted by a group of Myra's relatives and friends, all curious about the human guest. David spent the evening engaging in conversations, often facilitated by Mira or Tom, who acted as cultural liaisons. Dinner was an array of unfamiliar dishes, each explained by Myra's relatives with a mix of pride and interest in David's reaction. After the meal, Myra's uncle, a prominent figure in the community, pulled David aside. "I understand you are a scientist?" he inquired, his tone friendly yet probing. "Yes, I specialize in geology and mineral studies," David replied. "And how do you see your role in Myra's life here on Alcyone?" the uncle continued, his gaze sharp. David took a moment before answering, choosing his words carefully. "I hope to be a supportive partner and contribute to our shared life and work here. I'm eager to learn from your culture and hopefully bring some beneficial perspectives from my own." The uncle nodded slowly, seemingly satisfied with the answer. "It will be challenging. There are not many precedents for such a union here." "I understand that, and I'm prepared to face those challenges," David stated, his resolve clear. Later, Tom and David discussed the evening as they prepared for bed in the guest wing. "Think you made an impression?" Tom asked, half teasing. "Hopefully a good one," David sighed. "It's going to take time. They're cautious, understandably." "Hey, you've faced tougher environments," Tom reassured him. "Just think of this as another complex ecosystem to understand." David chuckled. "An ecosystem with a lot more personal stakes." The next day, David was invited to participate in a community project. It was an environmental initiative designed to restore a native forest. He worked alongside Alcyone scientists, sharing techniques and learning about their advanced ecological technologies. Mira watched David interact with her community, her heart swelling with pride and hope. "You're doing well," she whispered to him during a break. "It's thanks to you. Your faith in me makes all the difference," David replied, squeezing her hand. As the project wrapped up, several community members expressed their appreciation for David's efforts and his respectful approach to their work and culture. That night, Myra's father approached him, a hint of respect in his tone. "You have shown great regard for our ways, David. It's more than I expected." "I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and for your openness," David replied, knowing each small acceptance was a step toward a more integrated future. Their stay on Alcyone continued, each day building on the last, slowly weaving David into the fabric of Myra's world, his presence becoming a little more familiar, a little more accepted. David walked alongside Mira through the bustling halls of Alcyone's cultural center, their hands occasionally brushing as they moved from one exhibit to another. The center was a hive of activity, hosting a festival that celebrated the diverse cultures of their galaxy. Tom, who had tagged along to learn more about the alien customs, was particularly engrossed in a display about the planetary systems aligned with Alcyone. "Look at this, David," Tom called out, pointing at a holographic map that detailed trade routes and cultural exchanges. "The integration here is impressive. Earth could learn a thing or two." David nodded, his mind on the parallels between the displayed integration and his own experiences on Alcyone. "It's all about finding common ground, isn't it?" Mira smiled, leading them toward a workshop area. "Speaking of which, we're about to see some traditional crafting. I thought you might enjoy participating." They were greeted by an elderly craftsman, his hands deftly weaving a complex material. "This is Kairos fiber," Mira explained. "It's used in everything from clothing to building materials due to its strength and flexibility. Would you like to try?" David glanced at Tom, who nudged him forward with a grin. Taking a seat beside the craftsman, David watched closely, then attempted to mimic the movements. The craftsman, patient and encouraging, guided his hands when he faltered. "You have a good touch, not too forceful," the craftsman complimented, causing David to beam with pride. As the workshop continued, onlookers gathered, whispering and pointing not with hostility, but curiosity and a budding respect. Mira translated some of their comments, and David was heartened by the positive reactions. After the workshop, they explored a food market within the center. Tom, ever adventurous, encouraged David to try some local delicacies. "Come on, if you can handle alien textiles, you can handle alien food," Tom joked, handing David a skewer with something that looked less than appetizing. David took a tentative bite, then smiled. "That's actually really good. Tastes like chicken?" Tom quipped, and they all laughed. As the day drew to a close, Myra's friend Lior, a local artist, invited them to his studio. The walls were adorned with vibrant paintings that depicted Alcyone's landscapes. "These are incredible, Lior," David remarked, genuinely impressed. "The colors, the composition. It's all so vivid." Lior beamed, pleased by the appreciation. "Art is a universal language. Perhaps you'd like to try as well?" Under Lior's guidance, David and Tom each took up a brush, experimenting with the alien techniques to create their own simple canvases. The session was filled with laughter and light-hearted teasing, but also a deep mutual respect for each other's attempts to bridge cultures through art. On the way back, Mira linked arms with David, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Today was a good day," she murmured. "It was," David agreed. "I feel like we made some real connections, not just for us but for everyone who was there." Tom, walking beside them, nodded. "It's about more than just fitting in. It's about enriching this place with our presence as much as it enriches us." As they reached their temporary home under Alcyone's starlit sky, David felt a sense of accomplishment. The day hadn't just been about participating in activities, it had been about deepening the bond between him and Myra's world, about being seen not as an outsider but as someone who genuinely wanted to be part of the community. The challenges were still there, but days like this made it all seem possible, made it feel like home. The early morning light cast a gentle glow over the city as David and Mira stood at the Vista Overlook, a popular spot that offered a panoramic view of the sprawling alien landscape below. Today, they were not alone. Tom had joined them, eager to witness one of Alcyone's famed sunrises. "It's beautiful," David remarked, his eyes reflecting the myriad of colors that streaked across the sky. Tom, who was usually more reserved with his emotions, nodded in agreement. "It's not just the view. It's everything we've experienced here." Mira, standing between them, took each of their hands in hers. "I'm glad you both could see this. This place, this moment. It's a new beginning for us all." David squeezed her hand, his thoughts on their future together. "When we first met, I couldn't have imagined we'd end up here, looking at the sunrise on your planet. And yet, here we are," Mira smiled. "My parents are starting to come around too. They see how much we care for each other, how hard you've worked to understand our ways." Tom chuckled, "Yeah, and they've seen how hard he falls for your local cuisine." Laughing, David conceded, "That too. But more than that, I think they see our commitment to each other and to bridging our worlds." As the sun rose higher, casting its light on the city, more Alcyonians joined them at the overlook. Among them were some of Myra's relatives and friends, including the elderly craftsman and Lior, the artist. They greeted David and Tom warmly, further solidifying the bonds that had been formed. The craftsman approached David with a small gift, a woven band made from Kairos fiber. "For your commitment to learning our craft," he explained, handing it to David. "Thank you," David said, genuinely touched. He turned to Mira. "See, every day brings something new, something to cherish." Myra's friend Leora then presented Tom with a framed painting, the one he had attempted under Leora's guidance. "To remember your time here, and how art transcends all boundaries," Leora said. Tom was visibly moved. "I'll treasure this, thank you." The morning progressed with shared stories and laughter, the community increasingly accepting of the human presence among them. Myra's mother, who had been watching from a distance, finally approached. "David, Tom," she began, her voice soft but clear, "seeing you both today, with our people, sharing in our traditions, it has eased many of my fears." David responded, "We hope to continue being a part of this community, learning and growing together." "And you will," she said, embracing Mira and then extending a hand to David. "Your family now, in every way that matters." The group spent the rest of the morning together, talking and planning for future collaborations. Ideas for joint scientific ventures, cultural exchanges, and even a festival celebrating human and Alcyonian arts were discussed with enthusiasm. As the event wound down, David, Mira, and Tom walked back to their home, their hearts full. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Tom asked, looking back at the crowd that was dispersing. "It is," David agreed. "A new dawn for us, for Alcyone, and hopefully, in time, for broader human-alien relations." Mira leaned into David, her eyes bright with hope and love. "With every sunrise, we'll build on this, make it stronger. Together." As they reached their doorstep, they turned to take one last look at the city bathed in sunlight, a symbol of their new life, intertwined and vibrant. The challenges of the past seemed smaller now, overshadowed by the potential of what was to come.